Good morning, friends. Fellow alumnus, ladies and gentlemen, welcome all to our 38th webinar series. We are already on the threshold of the third month of 21-22, which we all sincerely hope will bring us good tidings. Despite 2021 being an unprecedented period in recent times, we managed to stay in touch with each other and create positive pathways for all in this group. For that, a big thanks for your faith and support. As we try hard to put behind us the memories of COVID-19, it is time for renewal and retrospection. Let me run you quickly through the ideals on which AABN was built before spelling out a future course and moving on to welcome one and all and introduce you to a distinguished speaker for the day. What began as a fledgling outfit in September 2017 to connect professionals on a proactive platform to exchange useful information and contacts also became an informal avenue to meet and listen to game changers in the fields of engineering, marketing, entrepreneurship, and business management through interactive sessions. Thanks to the strong work fundamentals, clear goals, and wonderful camaraderie on which this network was built, we grew in leaps and bounds. A new year called for a fresh look at things. So as a run-up to 21-22, the core committee members unanimously felt that the time had come to go beyond engineering and expand AABN's wings to cover a large group drawn from multidisciplines of Annamalai University alumni. We felt that transitioning from a B2B to a B2C network would benefit a larger group of Annamalaians. Our immediate priority is for this disparate group of people to work in sync to overcome challenges and draw new pathways for the future of this wonderful business community. It's critical that the work we do, besides benefiting this group, also finds resonance in the larger business community outside. As we begin work with renewed vigor, we would aim to achieve and enlighten all on Industry 4.0 standards, for which we seek support and involvement of all. We hope to see the participation of many more entrepreneurs across engineering, agriculture, management, pharmacy, marine, etc., particularly more youngsters from beyond 2K who might be able to add a fresh dimension to our goals. I wish to point out that all alumni meetings are not just about hitting the refresh buttons on old acquaintances. They are also a forum wherein fresh interfaces lead to a new hope for the future. That brings me to today's buzzword, fresh. It's been a recurring word in my introduction. No wonder we also got an awesome speaker with a fresh perspectives on business networking, a trendsetter for entrepreneurs to address us. Let me extend a very warm welcome to our eminent guest, Mr. N. Sivasailam, IAS retired, to this interactive business networking session. A very warm welcome to you, sir, and we feel profoundly honored that you have taken time off on a Sunday morning to address us. Now, if I were to provide you with a comprehensive profile of Mr. N. Sivasailam, IAS retired, I might require more than the time we have fixed for this whole program. So I will limit myself to a few that will capture the essence of his achievements and activities. Mr. Sivasailam is an IAS officer. He holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Delhi College of Engineering, a master's degree in business administration from Delhi University, a PG degree in social policy and planning in developing countries from the London School of Economics, and a PG diploma in intellectual property rights law from National Law School, Bangalore. Mr. Sivasailam currently serves as an administrative member of Karnataka State Administrative Tribunal and is also the national chairman of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. He brings with him over 36 plus years of rich experience in trade and industry, healthcare and education, rural development, etc. His expertise includes business planning, operations management, government feasibility studies, and management. He holds key positions with government departments at national and state levels, such as Special Secretary, Department of Commerce and Department of Telecom, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Public Enterprises, Government of Karnataka, Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare, Government of Karnataka, Managing Director, Bangalore Metro Rail Corporation, Karnataka State Beverages Corporation, and Rajiv Gandhi Rural Housing Corporation, Government of India, Secretary, Rural Development and Panchayat Raj, Government of Karnataka, Project Director, India Populations Project, Deputy Secretary, All India Services, Government of India, and Education Department, Government of Karnataka. He was also CEO, Zilla Panchayat, Joint Secretary, Commerce and Industry, Commissioner, Chitradurga Urban Development Authority, Deputy and Assistant Commissioner and Sub-Divisional Magistrate, Revenue Department, Government of Karnataka. With a personality like Mr. N. Sivasailam, IAS retired, you can go on and on eulogizing. But let me stop here and let the audience have the privilege of listening to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Gopi. Sir, you can unmute here.
Yeah.
Good morning to all Annamalaians, and I'm very happy to be amidst you. And I did have a taste, or what I would call a teaser, 2 days ago, some of you, and what was supposed to be a 10-minute interaction, which what Tariq ji mentioned to me, it went on for 45 minutes. So that's a level of what I would call enthusiasm which this group has, and I'm extremely happy that I'm with all of you today. As you must have seen, the topic is what I would call networking. And you, all of you must be wondering, what is this thing? Are we not doing any networking in our own way? 38 sessions of Annamalaians meeting and exchanging notes. As you must have heard, just before start, somebody congratulating somebody, somebody thanking somebody, and many of them telling that they have benefited by being part of the group. That itself is networking, and what else it is. Networking is something which has come to stay. It is something which has been accepted by all of you. It is something in which all of you see value. And therefore, I would, the question would naturally be as to what are we looking at today. There were certain aspects which were addressed during our internal meeting a couple of days ago. What does this networking mean? Does it mean telling, hello, how are you? Exchanging notes about the family, well-being, things like that, or just inquiring about how are things in your place, how are things in your industry, what's your view about it? All that is part of networking. There is no doubt about it. And I'm not going to say that anything which is being done so far in what I would call Annamalai 1.0 networking is unnecessary or not relevant or waste of time. None of that thing, because the fact that so many of us have gathered today on a Sunday morning is itself proof that these networking as a concept is workable. At the beginning of this webinar, there was a small video which stated that the purpose of these webinars are to expand horizons and with innovative thoughts. I fully subscribe to this wonderful theme, and that has guided this group, and I'm pretty certain that it will continue to do so in future. And I will try my best to see whether one is able to come up to its expectations. But one thing is very clear. Thoughts have to be exchanged. When we call about, when we say that we need to be innovative, the first thing is that we should have a perspective on it. We should be discussing it, and then after having found out that, well, this is an innovative way of which we recognize, what is the group going to do, or what are we all going to do to take things forward? In my talk today, I'm going to take you through 6 or rather 5 of those areas. Sixth one is my own submission to you on a new concept which has come internationally, that is the 5G, and that's my own submission to you. But 5 are directly in relation to what we had discussed among the internal group as to what will be the need and what would interest you all in this webinar. And the first is, I take this network as an organic entity, a live entity wanting to take things forward. Now, I'm not going to speak to you about what I would call social interactions. I'm going to talk to you about what are the business opportunities available, and as we would all like to do, how to structure them in a manner which makes sense. If that structuring comes from within, well, soname swahaga. That is, it's a great thing to happen, and Annamalayans can ensure that the ones which you have created becomes the platform. I would like to draw attention to what happens in alumni all over the world. Particularly, I have examples of 3 of them, namely Harvard, Booth, and UCLA. As you know, Harvard, most of the new ideas of Harvard are actually generated by the alumni associations. The funding for the new ideas, it was said that one of the aims of Annamalaians is to promote nurture entrepreneurship, something which your colleague institution, Harvard, actually does. And these ideas are discussed among this group, and then it is nurtured forward. And it's not one, it takes off, to the best of my knowledge, in the I think at the cost of being corrected as well. I think last year Harvard looked at something like 250 new ideas, and actually agreed to take forward almost all of them, until somebody backed out because they felt that the concept was not very well structured as yet. So that's the level of support structures which alumni all over the world have come. And I'm pretty certain that with the type of concepts which you have built, Annamalaians like you will be able to take things forward. I'm just quoted that in order to give you the perspective that you are actually on the right track. And for a person like me who is speaking at this forum, it's, let me tell you, it's a lifetime opportunity, which I cherish, to give you ideas for action. And also, obviously, participate in it pro bono. There is no doubt about it that I would like to be part of this wonderful group. I'm excited about it, and the best of it is starting with this opportunity here today. I can also tell you about Booth. Booth does it on a totally different way. They do it on the economics concepts front, trying it largely on macro economics, but of course I'm told that microeconomics is also part of their idea. But Booth does a lot of things on the economics and front, which basically has got a lot to do with strategic management, which addresses large think tanks, countries, and things like that. Coming to the business side of it, the third institution which I would like to say is UCLA. UCLA also has a lot of opportunities, and their alumni association is extremely active, possibly, according to me, next only to Harvard. And they have, and being in the heartland, being in California, they have a huge, I mean, California itself, if it is standing alone as a state, will be in the top 10. So that's the level of capability which they have. They are able to leverage it and promote these activities. So first of all, congratulations to Annamalaians for this initiative. I know that it is 38th webinar. It's a fledgling situation. Maybe you might have done it a couple of years or 4 to 5 years ago, but still it is a small thing. And the fact that you have kept it running for such long, I think great things are going to happen in the future. Having come to told about the framework, about what your concept is likely to be in the, and what I presume it is likely to be in the future, and about which I'm not having any doubt, I would like to come first into what are the areas of structuring which one can do. I think industries across the board, I think a whole lot of industries are represented among the Annamalaians here today. I think you would not, I think there need not be any dispute, or there would not be any dispute or contest on the fact that technology plays a very important role in today's world, and persons who are not able to leverage technology for businesses are likely to fall behind. Now, having said that, what is it that technology, everybody, okay, so everybody needs to ride on technology, but how are you going to do it? It's so costly. Each person, and I mean the concept, I'm basically hinting towards the concept of blockchains. It's important. It's important. It's going to be extremely important for an industry in future, in order to lower costs. Your cost of doing business may come down cascading, and your markets may expand beyond what you can even imagine. And that's what is the role which blockchain have got the potential, by simply making the documents which you generate available online at all times, on a permanent reference basis, and also for processing. So that is what it does, which presently, if you have to create for 18 different people, if you have to create 18 types of documents or 18 original copies, you just imagine the problem. First of all, they may not match, and somebody may say that you have changed the document. So all these issues are important, which blockchain as a single concept addresses. So all of you will say, yes, we should be on blockchains tomorrow. Well, it's easier said than done, because blockchain is basically a concept in which all of you need to be together. For example, if I create a blockchain for myself, and Tariq and Gopi decide not to be part of it, then there is no point in me having a blockchain and working on it, because it involves all others. And therefore, the concept of a network is inherent in a concept of blockchain. Without a strategic mass, without a strategic group, you can never have a blockchain. Therefore, what will happen internationally? Before I come to that, I need to say, okay, you might say, okay, we will all do it. We will all create blockchains. Now, it is such a costly exercise that each one of you, as small businesses, very productive which you may be, but you cannot create them. I will give you a small example of what was done in something called, those who are in the shipping business will know that we have something called the port community system. Everybody thought that each one will create a port community system. Where ultimately, IPA did it. Indian Ports Association did it. And of course, last April, one of the first things which happened in the first week was it was decided to incorporate blockchains in the port community system. Now, if everybody decides to do their own blockchain, can you just imagine the cost of developing that platform? Cost of developing that platform is 250 crores. It's not cheap. And these are all across the board platforms which individual institutions like me and you can aspire for it, but we cannot create it on our own. Of course, we can pay 1,000 rupees, we can pay 100 rupees, we can pay per transaction. All that is okay, but I cannot create the platform. The platform needs to be created by a person, by a group which can afford it, and which can generate it by participation of its members. So that is the first requirement in a basic creation of a blockchain concept. Now, first of all, the prior requirement is people like all of you should agree to be part of it. Number one, if you decide not to be part of it, you can neither get the benefit, nor you can benefit of others talking to you on the platform, nor can you talk to others on the platform. So you need to be part of that platform, and that is a very strategic decision on your part. The second thing is, who among you is going to develop it? If somebody like Annamalaians can develop it as a group, well, you are having a platform for the world. All others, non-Annamalaians like me, can also join your platform, because you are providing me a business opportunity across the board, not only with your members, but also with certain others who would like to come into your platforms. So my request to you is, as a group with such a wide capability, please develop a platform by which others can join, and where you can transact business. I'm meaning one more. What I'm telling you is, you can transact business on your platform, and that's an important word, with all the legal connotations which it implies. Because when you put your invoice on the platform, that invoice comes to stay. Others take it out from there. You can tell your clients, my invoice is in this platform. You can download it and use it. You can tell a regulator, my invoice is in this platform. This is the code, or the what I would call by which you can access this thing. People will be surprised about its authenticity, because they know that only you can upload it and nobody else can upload it. People can know that nobody can change it, because if it changes it, the blockchain will say that this document is forged, so therefore nobody can access it. So that's an important area of doing business, because presently, as I have seen it, lot of when you want to stall a business, you please ask them to produce all these capabilities, all these certifications, a third-party certification, a bank certification, and all that stuff. All these, and your platform can itself become a huge business opportunity created by Annamalaians for the world, not only for yourself. You have a critical mass to take it forward for yourself, but you also have the critical mass for others to come to you. And that is what is something which is more important. Each one of you networks with many other people who are not part of the networks of the others in your group. So they also come into your platform and you explode. That's exactly the system which actually Microsoft did. That's exactly the system what Apple did. That's exactly when you are talking about all these platform creation, somebody has the first mover advantage is important. Otherwise, if Sivasailam creates a platform and any others create the platform, you have a choice of being in two, either, but you cannot be the creator of the platform itself, which provides you the first mover advantage. I think this opportunity is there. There are groups, as I know. There are many in the group, those who are involved in this, among Annamalayans itself, who can create this. You can all pull in. It's for the development, and then use it and develop a system by which you maintain it, so that it adds value to all of you. And not only adds value, reduces the cost of doing business. Today in India, the cost of doing business is high. And that reduces profitability considerably. And my whole way of looking at it is, what are the areas where costs of doing business can be reduced? Because that adds directly to your profitability, because the money stays with you. Once you spend it, fine. You might be telling, I mean, an economist may argue that if you are spending, you are adding to the economy. But that's not the way to look at it, because the multiplier effect of an expenditure is much lower than the multiplier effect of investment. And I'm looking at that. So if somebody among you is an economist and wants an economic argument, you say, if somebody spends, actually the economy is benefiting. So why are you preventing people from spending? You by saving costs? No. By saving costs, you increase investable resources. And the multiplier effect of an investment is far higher than a multiplier effect of a expenditure. Expenditure is 1:1. Multiplier can be 1:1,000. For something like blockchain, at initially, of course, it may stabilize at something like 1:2 or 1:3, but still it is much greater than 1:1, which an expenditure has got. So my economic argument for this will be develop investable resources through reducing costs. And one way to go about is to have the first mover advantage. Your group is quite capable, quite diverse. You can develop your business platforms immediately, which will help you talk to regulators as a group. Tell regulators that, well, my details are available, you can access it. Give them a code, and they access the code, and that's it. That will add others to develop parallel systems with which you can join. I mean, somebody like Tariq, who is there in this field, will know that it's not a single platform which will be there. There'll be many platforms, but the whole capability lies in integrating. Today, we are not talking about integrating of softwares or integrating of databases. Today, we are talking about integrating of platforms. Your business platforms need to be integrated with the tax platform. It may need to be integrated with some others. Well, it can be integrated with the logistics platform for transporters and things like that. And the list is endless. I mean, it's so much so that as a person, I would be very much limited by my thinking, trying to speculate the huge opportunities which are open. But all what I want to drill into you is develop the first mover advantage for creating a platform, a business platform based on blockchain. And that is the need of the hour. And you have the critical mass. Only a person, Sivasailam, cannot talk about creating blockchain, because I don't have one more person who is going to join my network. Whereas Annamalaians as a group, I was told more than 500, 600 and counting. Once you create a platform, you never know. You will be doubling maybe your membership in 1 week, because you are creating a business platform for your people, the maintenance of documents, so they don't need to bother. They don't need to be, they can even integrate accounts systems, their cash books, everything is possible. So they are, tomorrow if somebody says you have not maintained in our cash book, you have not shown me, nobody can say that, because you can say, okay, here is a code, go and see it, because nobody can change it. Even the person who has created it cannot change it. So the authenticity, credibility, integrity all gets established, and businesses need to function that way. All of you are agreeable with me. So this is my first submission to you as regards creating this business opportunity. I'm making this pitch to you. As I repeat, at the cost of repetition, you have the critical mass to create this business platform. Not many, even if other groups like you may have the critical platform, they need to have the will, and they need to have the wherewithal. Individually, each one of you can afford to put in the money, which may not exceed 1 lakh or something, so as to create a huge corpus. And after that, you can say, okay, fine, we share in it. Well, after 10 years, you may decide to palm it off as a separate business, sell it off, and the whole startup ecosystem is open for you. So, so that's the way one needs to look at it. And the starting point is the entrepreneurial starting point is a group. You must have a group intending to make money, or at least I would say intending not to lose money. So even if I put it negatively, the idea is it has to be neutral. That's fine. But it's a huge business opportunity open to you as a group, and you must leverage it, is my first take. I will now go to my entire theme is built on, as you know, on the issue of networking. And my second theme is on the issue of what I would call quote unquote financing. One of the biggest problems in India, and I'm talking with reference to the small and medium entrepreneurs who are there. And in the small and medium entrepreneurs, the key element is there is an act which said that small and medium entrepreneurs are suffering because these big fellows don't pay them on time. And therefore, this act was created. Very good. But do you know the startling results of that act? It is found that it is not the big entrepreneurs who are not paying the small entrepreneurs. That is only about 6 to 8% of the cases. 92% of the times, it is the small entrepreneurs and medium entrepreneurs who are not paying each other. And that's a very startling piece of statistics. Now, is it possible to do something about it? As long as businesses are small, all of us know, I may be having a receivables of something like 30,000 from a client situated in Coimbatore, or let us say it is in Delhi itself, and I have to receive 30,000 rupees. Now I gave a credit term, and well, the credit term did not come. Now the problem is, to recover 30,000, I have to spend 20,000. So I keep fighting, lettering. He knows that he will not pay because he knows to recover 30,000, I have to spend 20,000. So ultimately, it becomes some sort of a bad debt. You have to keep talking, but your cash flows are affected, which means that your ability, your sustaining ability, if something like 200, 100 people do like this, your cash flows of that organization, small and medium businesses, are affected. Now, is it possible to do something about it? My way of looking at it is both from internal as well as from external side. Internal, among yourself as a group, would it be possible for you to develop a norm that we need to have this norm, and we should be we will be honoring our commitments on our side. If I say 90 days, I will pay in 90 days. On the 90th day or something, or earlier, if I can take advantage of some concessions which are part of it, it's fine. But otherwise, I should be able to pay. Is it possible to develop that as form of an ethical way of looking at it? Number one, that is an entirely network related issue. It has to, because once you say that this is part of my ethical norms, well, and put it as a corporate philosophy, well, people may quote you lower. People may, when you are going on a procurement, people will say, I'm sure he's got me in 90 days, so I'm not going to build any margins for him, and I will get it. The second important thing is whether it is possible as a group to ensure, and that's where the first part of blockchains and all come in, whether to ensure that these things, these norms are supported through a platform so that it becomes able to everybody. And I'm coming for the third part of it, which will have to be added to the second one. Is it possible to negotiate with a financial institution to start factoring without recourse? In India, the factoring started. Something like Canara Bank or Syndicate Bank did it about 20 years ago, but it failed because they did all factoring with recourse, and nobody would pay. So the money would come back into so that the debit would come back into my books. So is it possible to develop a methodology by which the bank has a capability of everybody, and banks would be interested because everybody is doing business with that bank, and with consolidation of banks going on, I mean, the choice becomes very limited. And when the choice becomes limited, these options become possible. For example, you don't need to deal with the Union Bank, Canara Bank, Syndicate Bank today. You need to deal, I mean, you need to deal only with one. So a lot of you would be there, and you can say, okay, if you are coming into this platform, you get factoring. So once you pay, well, the other persons get debited. You can also tell them, please come into this platform. And if you get all the banks into it, the factoring is a natural, it happens across the board. So that's where the externality of getting the networks on your platform helps. Once you are in a group, it is possible for you to negotiate with the what I would call this general manager in charge of the zone or the headquarters to say, okay, we have got this much of business, we are doing this much of business, your clients are also in that business, please enter our platform and give us a factoring facility. Because it's a law, you have to take advantage of the law. Law also has to be implemented, and you have to create systems to implement the law. A law which is created without tools, once you have this tool, the law gets implemented on its own. Because even otherwise, the recourse to litigation is available, and litigation is costly for both. So it is possible to generate systems taking advantage of this, I call it the Medium and Small Industries Financing Act, whatever it is. But this law can be made use of to negotiate as a group, as a large group like you, within the region, outside the region, with headquarters. Well, that's fine. At least let us start off with banks which are headquartered in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. That will cover something like 50% of your network. So that's an important area to look at, so as to give teeth, give systemic approaches to a law which is in your favor and which has to be obeyed by everybody in the field. That law applies to Gopi, that law applies to Vaidishwaran, that law applies to Tariq, that law applies to Shekhar as well. Everybody it applies. But how are we going to develop the system? Once you have a backup system through a bank, the people, it's be at the business level, it is gone. At the um, at the institutional level, to start off, you can say, okay, all amounts less than 1 crore. Let you see the experience over five years, or rather over 1 year, and then expand it to 2 crores. You see the experience over 2 years, and then expand it to 5 crores. So that all factoring, all cash bills which needs to be paid, and you cannot generate multiple cash bills because they are all in the system, and the banks are able to see it. It is not that tomorrow you will produce a new bill and give it to the bank and say, no, this is the original bill. It is falsely stated. Nobody can say that. So the authenticity of this system comes by this methodology. As I told you, critical mass is important. Critical mass of flourishing businesses is important, and which is what the group of Annamalayans to whom I am addressing are bringing to the table. So don't think that you are on the negative bargaining side. No, you have a value to offer on the other side as well. You have a value to offer on the financing side, even when you are factoring, because when you are factoring the business, the multiplier effect is actually 2. One at your level and one at the receiving level. So both the banks benefit. And if it is the same bank, they benefit 4 times. So their ability to churn out cash increases considerably. So these are all important. You are bringing, even by doing it, you are bringing value to the people with whom you are negotiating and bringing them to the table. And I thought that this is a good opportunity for you to act, because only groups can groups with the critical mass of business and a critical mass of persons can do it. If you are just one business, it didn't matter. But since you are multiple businesses across spectrums, across thing, the risk of the bank is also lowered, and people would be think. And even on the other side, it is not one bank it is not one bank to one bank. It is multiple banks which gets involved. And with the reduction in banks, there is an business opportunity for all to come. More than that, it creates a sense of ethicality in business, which I'm sorry to say, it's something that is why doing business with Indians within India is costly. Doing business with Indians for a foreigner, they simply add 30%, because we give hundreds of excuses not to pay. Otherwise, they will say you put an LC at site. So and the site, they will put it on board in the receiving ship. So as long as the handling agency says the goods received, immediately the money is debited from the account, whether you have received the good in whatever condition. So this is becoming an issue with trading with India, trading with Indian businesses, and more than that, it becomes costly for our own businesses. If you are exporting, they charge you lower. If you are importing, they charge you higher. So in either way, the value which is to be accrued to us, exports or imports or internal trade, it is lost at both ends, because of what I would call in a group, it's so important, trust deficit and non-ability or inability or deliberate inability. I'm not mincing words. Deliberate inability to honor what I would call financing covenants. I'm not telling about other covenants which are important, but financing covenants are important, and financing covenants directly add to costs of business. Several businesses are not able to take place because of financial covenants not meeting the requirement. That is the second point. Third is a continuing of this. Is it possible for you to create an arbitration forum? Several of you would be simply afraid of courts, and the number of cases which are in courts civil litigations and this with the civil procedure code can take you, a litigation can take you 25 years if it is not 744 years. Um, um, so it's important that as a group, is it possible, at least for among yourselves when you do businesses, to create an arbitration mechanism that will reduce your litigation costs considerably. You can also bring it an outside forum to join you. I mean, if you are doing it with this thing, you can say, we have got a arbitration forum. We have got lot of credible people whom we have not selected. External people whom we had associated have selected these people as arbitrators. You can choose any of them, and it is okay with us. You give them the right to choose the arbitrators in your panel. It is a large amount of costs will get reduced, and it will be quick. And provided you decide that, yes, as far as we are concerned, we will obey the arbitration award because it has been set up by us. First of all, it should be able to sort out business means certain amount of disputes involving businesses should be taken for given. And it does not mean that merely because there is business, you should stop doing business with that fellow. There is litigation, it is the principle which applies in business is litigation is inevitable, but agreement is possible. It is possible that on several occasions in my career, I have seen people have launched litigation only because they did not have the money to pay. And for the time being, they said that the cost of filing a civil suit is 5,000 rupees. Let me file it and let the notices get issued. So at least I am saved for 3 months before the notice comes on this thing. By the time, let me do something. But that is not the way I would like to say. When we are doing things professionally, we should not be afraid of litigation. It is possible that you may not have the money. I'm telling you that you had honored a commitment, you did not have the money. Arbitration is the best way to take it forward, to say, okay, I promised you in 90 days, please don't, as I told you, please don't encash my factoring norm. I'm willing to come up for arbitration. Please give me this credit. I'm pretty certain that each one of you among yourselves and to outsiders also will do it. But let the settlement be in terms of cash. You may say, okay, fine, pay me 8%. That's fine. Those are all norms which you can start establishing through your arbitration behavior, rather than treat it as a once-off thing. Okay, let it go to court. After that, let me not do business with Gopi. Till this case is settled. The case will not be settled for another 25 years. So, because the person has spent money, and courts are not, and civil litigation is not cheap, because nowadays lawyers are charging per adjournment. So it becomes a litigation cost becomes huge, and several people, several small businesses, and you might be reasonably big, but I think once you are faced with a litigation from a major player, you can outsmart him by simply lasting out the litigation, and he will be dead. The company, the small scale, medium scale unit will be dead fighting the litigation against any other person with huge pockets, or with what I would call trying to take advantage of the processes, of the court processes, which is not necessarily at the end of it. You may get justice, but in business, if you don't live today, you're now, what is the point in getting justice tomorrow? So that is the way one has to look at it. I would flag this as one of the easiest way to start an arbitration forum with very, very credible people deciding things for you with which you will agree, and also having this as part of your contracts, and convincing people that it actually works. And it does not mean that you are holding the arbitrator in your pocket, because you can convince them that our arbitration system is neutral, and we have only created the forum, and it is for everybody to take advantage of it. And I would strongly advise that please create this in order to grow, because strategically you can always be stalled by a potential new player by involving you in a long drawn litigation from which you can, by the time you recover, things have already been taken away under your carpet. Fourth one is the practical aspects of something which you can do as a group, and that is insurance. Nowadays, particularly, there are many aspects of insurance. I mean, you may have your factory insurance, you may have your business insurance, you may have whatever forms of insurance you may have. You may have a profit reduction, reduced profit insurance. You may have some failure of chemical fellows can say that mine is a process system, and if the process fails, I'm entitled to this insurance. All that is possible. But if you are able to negotiate as a group, you get wonderful premiums. And that's what is happening. And I did that. I can give you an anecdotal example. Our Bangalore Metro contracts provided every contractor to take an insurance, which they have to do because they are working, something can happen, third party, multiple parties, my party, everybody, engineers, everybody is involved. And then structure safety for X years, all that is part of the contract. So they did it. Now, we came up with an idea of floating the floating a common thing for the entire project. And we did it, and we got premiums. And then what we did was, we told the contractor, either you can pay premiums from, you can give me the policy covering all these aspects, or you can rely on it. Now, suddenly there was a rush to my office telling that we all want to go into this policy because it is much more comprehensive than what they have taken. And it was 1/3 the cost. The whole project insurance was 1/3 the cost of total project insurance. So everybody benefited out of it. And with the type of networking which you have and the variety of businesses which you have, the simplest thing which you should attempt is staff insurance. Your nowadays health insurance has become a very important thing. Several people who in an organization, I mean, COVID, you never know what's going to happen if they pass out. What are you going to do if it happens next year? I mean, as a person and as a head of the institution, each one of you will be obliged to do something. You cannot say, I'll give you, go to the family and say, you have to, I mean, you are, the fact that you are living, you are obliged to do something. And that's where the insurance can come in. I am not leaving out the huge benefits of what I would call business related insurance. And I'm seriously requesting you to explore this possibility as a network. All this will require network aspects on a software platform, because information will be required. You cannot say that if you are 500 fellows, 500 people separated over 500 destinations, definitely. And let us say some people will have multiple destinations and more people are going to join. You cannot say that the insurance fellow will have to go everywhere for that information. So it will be your duty to provide him authentic information on which he has to rely. So the first thing which I told, that is the blockchain, is so sine qua non for everything which I have said. I just told you at this point so as to reiterate the view that everything flows from the first one to create those platforms. I don't need to go more into this aspect, except to say that the simplest thing is the staff. But huge options are available at business processes level, business incomes level, process industry level, shop floor level. All you can, the insurance guys can classify it amongst say and say, okay, this group may play this premium, which may be far lower than what you are paying yourself individually. So this is a good option for you to make use of your network through your common platform which you have created. Now permit me, sir, to my last point, which is slightly off this, but which is involved greatly with networking. Why I'm telling you this is the concept of 5G. Now, I'm not very sure. People in the communications business or telecom business will know something. We knew about 1G, which was ordinary phone. We knew about 2G. Most in our organizations, persons who are at the lower level do use 4G, 2G. We know about 3G. Well, 3G and 4G are already operational. And now we have come to 5G. There are three key elements related to 5G. Now, this is very important for you to, I'm able to say this because I was the chairman for the 5G task force of the government of India. And my report, which is prepared by experts, and the team which I led consisted of so the 5 IIT, Indian Institute of Science, who at that point in time all happened to be communication engineers. Bhaskar Ramurthy, Mr. Desai. Bhaskar Ramurthy, you must be knowing, IIT Madras. Then the DOIN, Indian Institute of Science Director Rakesh Kumar. Then Mr. IIT Delhi. Then IIT Kanpur, Abhay Karandikar. Then IIT Kharagpur. All of them were part of the were all communications engineers and at the cutting edge level. So our report is extremely topical, and you should know one more thing. India is part of the standard setting for 5G. Unlike 4G, we are now part of the, if today we are having 5G, the norms of 5G have not been determined. Today, norms of 5G are not yet determined. I want to repeat to you. By the time ITU determines it, 6 countries already have 5G. India is one of them. That is because we are part of the 3GPP network. 3GPP network is a private network with set standards. And we are part of that 3GPP network. And it is like WTO, where you have caucuses. Now here the caucus consists of 6 members, EU, US, China, Japan, Korea, and India. And 6 of us have decided that this is going to be the standards. So ITU will rubber stamp it. No way out. And that's how things are happening in these areas. Since we are part of the standard setting body, it is unlikely that we will have any standard essential patents, because there is all the standard setting people are entitled to transfer the patents, are expected to transfer their patents free of cost to the other 5 members. So we also get it free, we also transfer it to others. India's contribution in 5G is something called the low mobility large cell, LMLC. It is called the LMLC. You can Google it and see. You'll have a lot of literature from Bhaskar Ramurthy, who is the author of this concept, along with Rakesh Kumar and the 5 big guys, along with Professor Paul Raj from the Stanford University. So these are the guys who have set it in low mobility large cell, and it is also part of 5G standards. Since we have contributed to the standards, we are part of that system as well. Now, having said this, that India is part of it, let me tell you what that 5G does. To put it very simply, because different people have different conceptions about 5G, and why I'm opening it in this forum is you can steal a march by deciding your strategic interests, and that's what is my purpose. First thing, well, 4G is downloading. Previously, you couldn't download a movie. Today, because of 4G, you are downloading a movie in 2 minutes. 5G will download a movie in 2 seconds. So it is what is called ultra mobile broadband, extended mobile or ultra mobile broadband. So if your maximum speeds were 1 gigabit per second, your 5G will be some 100 gigabits per second. So it's not megabits, I'm talking of gigabits per second. So that's the speeds. So you have huge spectrum bands, so you have huge speeds. So that's a major thing, and that's given. I mean, once we call it 5G, each one of us will expect, Are Baba, 4G is giving so fast, 5G will give faster. So that's nothing new, but how faster is important. Why? Because of the speeds, several things which otherwise are not possible become possible. And what are those 2 things? One is ultra low latency. So you can have something like connected cars. Somebody somebody who is in, a lot of people were talking about valves business. I think ultra low latency is a very important aspect of your business, because once you start fiberizing your thing, you actually know what's happening, what is the flow which is taking place, where it is taking place, how. So something like large pipelines, large gas pipelines, or citywide pipelines will become, you can have walls and pipelines which are embedded with fiber. And once you do that, it becomes 5G compatible. You can have manipulators. If something has to be stirred, you can have a stirrer, so that once a particular concentration takes place, you can have chemical industries, so many chemical engineers. Well, how do you put your hand inside a chemical pot with such a huge, with acids or whatever it is? 5G enables you to do it sitting maybe in your house. You can manage this processes. Pharma, you can do it, because I know I was part of the group towards which now made the shift from in India back to what it was earlier, that we'll also start manufacturing basic drugs. Unless and until we have basic drugs, we cannot be the pharma leader of the world. And now we found that the COVID has actually told us what we did not know. We were the pharma leaders of the world. And now, once we decide to have bulk drugs, we can do it. But to manufacture those bulk drugs, we need to have systems. And 5G brings down costs of those manufacturers drastically through ultra low latencies, because you need to have, I was told in pharma, as in several other chemical businesses, which all of us know, you need to have very precision way of doing things. And precision comes by ultra low latency. If 1 second it is high, your drug may fail. So same is the case with liquids flowing through walls, speeds being maintained and things like that. So ultra low latency. Another thing, just before we started, somebody was there from Marine. They told, yes, Marine guys, how are you going to go below 40 feet in the sea? India has got one of the countries in the world, one of the few countries in the world which has got the largest marine capability unutilized. Apart from the 200 kilometers exclusive economic zone, from our tip of the land to Antarctica is completely free. There is nothing. It is only 3 shipping lanes. You only need to have 3 shipping lanes. One after Sri Lanka, one in the middle ocean, and the last going towards Australia. So there are 3 shipping lanes which are there. Apart from that, there is nothing. And what about the whole minerals? What about seafoods? What about fishing, tuna fishing? India is the largest producer of tuna fishing, out of which 95% goes waste. We throw it back as we fish 100 and throw back 1995 as muck. And that's our level of tuna fishing, because foreign will not buy it, because they say that you have not removed the tuna properly. Blood is there. And tuna with blood becomes bad, gets spoiled in 6 hours. So you cannot eat it. Whoever it is cannot eat it. So marine fishing, this thing it's so important that anything you want to do below 40 feet, you require ultra low latency. And what about mining? How are you going to go? In India, we could not, how are you going to go into deeper than what you have done? Of course, all of you will talk about Kolar Goldfields, which has gone into 2 kilometers inside, but they have not gone 2 kilometers vertically inside. They have gone like this. They have gone like this. So it's a 2 kilometer pathway, but not 2 kilometers into the from the along the radius. Now, how are you going to do that? All that is possible. And if you want to do that, you need to have ultra low. You need to have machines which will work at that depth and which can be controlled, because no humans can go there physically. unless and until you have all your masks and things like that. But there also staying power is limited because you need to go with so much oxygen and things like that. But ultra low latency and machines to operate it can do it. The last but not the least, after which I will stop, is um, um, somebody mentioned about Industry 4.0 just before we start. Well, Industry 4.0 is not possible without machines 4.0. That's the conclusion. That's the technical, that is the conclusion of the technical world. You cannot have Industry 4.0. You may call cosmetic changes as Industry 4.0, but the real Industry 4.0 involves machines with 4.0. Machines which can work remotely. Incidentally, health sector is remote surgeries, remote diagnosis. Sitting here, how do I check the, how do I feel Tariq, who is visible to me on my screen? Those are all areas of remote robotics and a high form of robotics, because when I am touching a mannequin here representing Tariq, the robotic also should touch Tariq there and assess the thing. So how are we going to do that? All that requires what I would call machine 4.0 with ultra mobile, ultra low latency, and enhanced mobile broadband. So these are the three concepts applicable together. Just imagine the potential. Industries across you and what it all entails. Do you know that we are actually going down the path in 5G? 5G chips are actually cheaper to manufacture than 4G. 4G had embedded concepts. 5G is a plain chip with multiple layers of softwares. You keep on adding. So the chips have actually become simple. And who is going to benefit? India. The major manufacturers of software, even today for 4G chips, is India. 80% of Intel, 85% of Intel's research in 5G is done from a 22 lakh square foot space in India. Huawei's manufacture for 5G is done, I think, only 6 kilometers from my house here along the outer ring road. South Korea, Samsung has established a huge facility in Gurgaon, Gurgaon, Noida. Similarly, SK Telecom, South Korea, they wanted to match Samsung. They decided to follow the shorter route of transferring their entire software business into India, and it is at Bangalore. So Nokia is established in Chennai. They have revived their unit which closed, and they are coming up with the 5G facility. They want to make a big splash. 5G trials have started. My request to Annamalayan is, please get the 5G trials work incorporated in your industries. Get the guys who can do it. Get Samsung, get Reliance, get Airtel, get everybody. Don't show this thing. Multiple trials should go on, and you get them so as to do it and get into a first mover advantage, so that somebody among you can also develop a business side by side, which will be required. Trials will establish two things. One is, it will not only establish the concept have all been, I can vouch for it, that all the trials which are taking place, I have seen them personally in the India Mobile Congress, of which I'm the originator, which is held annually every during the Dashara time. All the concepts on which you are going to be seeing the trials are all established in laboratory scale, and they have been established in the next scale as well. Small operations or small areas, like, for example, 2 kilometer distance. They've all been established, although their capability may be much more, but they need to have the business case applications and the large scale trials are interested to work with businesses. So I do work with a lot of them, not a lot of them. I work with all of them, and the head of the institution, of course, in India we have only three or four, we have four players only now, but still that institution is important. You should establish contact with them. It is headed by the former Signal Chief of the Indian Army, Mr. Lieutenant General Chibber. I think it's better to get contacted and start the trials at your level. It's not going to be costly, but those of you, to the person who wants to use the application, he knows it uphand and get prepared for it. To the persons who wants to develop the back end of it as being compatible with the softwares, can start working on developing the product for it. Otherwise, you will suddenly find that there is a large number of imports coming and say, okay, this is compatible because the client wants 5G compatible thing. So you start preparing for that, and a large number of units should start working, willing to work with you pro bono with the entire telecom industry. Of course, I have a contribution in the digital communications policy, of which I was the chairman, and that is now an established policy. You can read it. It's highly progressive, and let me tell you, it's not a policy dictated by government. There is a buy-in of every sector of the telecom industry in that policy, and there is a tick off. Every term and every word mentioned in that policy has been ticked on by the industry. So it's a policy which is accepted by the industry to take things forward. And your cooperation in enlightened self-interest. I'm not telling that you need to do charity. You need to do those trials for your own purposes, so that you are in a position to create your next product, number one. And not only create the next product, but you require raw materials to be supplied. Now, if that can be done by your existing suppliers, and who are also Annamalayans, well, I don't think you require a better contribution from the network than to have forewarned you to develop technologically, rather than face an isolation and obsolescence subsequently. I think with these words, I'll end. I think I have gone on. I had already warned Tariq, never give a mic to a bureaucrat, and to a retired bureaucrat, I think you would have made a great mistake. But I hope you found it interesting, and do write to me. I'm not trying to say that I'm a repository of all innovative thoughts, but it depends upon how we, of course, there can be changes in the discourse which I have before you. It has to address this larger group requirement. Willing to work with you pro bono to make things happen at your end, and in any manner you want to carry these thoughts forward, and to build the necessary network with with equally large and equally passionate groups. And that's what the name of the game is, Thank you once again. I close with these remarks with profound thanks to Tariq for having invited me, and to the Annamalayans group day before yesterday, who spent 45 minutes with me, hearing my thoughts, and I hearing them as well. And then we had a discussion at that stage itself, and I hope you found this talk of mine useful to carry things forward with the type of capabilities which you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Very enlightening and very encouraging, line of thoughts and actions to follow. And yes, certainly these kind of activities will take us definitely to the next level. We are taking baby steps right now. Prabhakar, would you like to summarize? And Prabhakar wanted to moderate with the people who are. Prabhakar?
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhakar. Go ahead.
I would like to thank Mr. Sivasailam IAS, who briefly covered on the business networking for the entrepreneurs and especially for the members of AABN on various perspectives on how the networking can benefit on a larger way. Thank you so much for your time and your valid input, sir. We were able to see a lot of overflow of your experience and knowledge, and I'm sure that the tips, the crispy tips, whatever you're given will benefit the members of AABN. Thank you so much, sir. Can we go on to the question and answer session, sir, with your permission?
Please do, please do.
Yes, sir. There is a first question posted by Mr. Dhanashekharan. Please explain with example about factoring with recourse and without recourse.
Dhanashekharan is very simple. Factoring with recourse means, let us say Dhanashekharan and Prabhakar are doing business. Dhanashekharan says that, okay, the Prabhakaran has to owe you something like 100 rupees after 3 months. So what you do is that you take that bill to the bank and then tell them that, okay, this is a bill of Prabhakaran and Prabhakaran needs to pay me 100 rupees. You give me, you discount it, give me 98 rupees now. Bank will give you 98 rupees. And then Prabhakaran, you collect it from Prabhakaran at the end of 3 months. Now, although I put, then what will happen is at the end of 3 months, the bank will go to Prabhakaran and say, Prabhakaran, give me the 100 rupees because it is bank's money. Now, if Prabhakaran pays, that's fine. The matter is squared off. But if Prabhakaran does not pay, the bank will debit you 100 rupees and add since they have already paid you 98 rupees, they will now debit you 100 rupees because that is the money which it has to come to the bank. So that is what happens with recourse. Without recourse means bank has to get from Prabhakar. Prabhakar, the bank will deal with Prabhakar in its normal course of business by going through the bank networks. Nowadays, it is very easy because Prabhakar also has got a bank account. And Prabhakar has also got, his bank account. It is going from bank to bank transactions. So the bank will take it up with the other bank and say, okay, stop the credit to Prabhakar. So the banks will have that network, just like they get back fraudulent money. So because when the transfer takes place through the bank to bank, they know it goes through the Reserve Bank system and the amount can be reversed. So that is, this is what is the meaning between recourse and non-recourse factoring. I will also answer one question. The interest rate in factoring are very low because it is treated as current account. So they won't charge you like they do in cash credits and things like that. So the interest rate for that, since it is treated as working capital, they will treat it as working capital. They may, whatever is the working capital of that bank, that is of your bank, that is what they will charge you. And if it is within your working capital limits itself, they will treat it as a part of your limits when they pay you anything on the even on factoring. So lot of options are possible, and I think this has to be explored because its time has come. 15 years ago, we didn't have the mechanisms. We didn't have NEFT payments. We didn't have RTGS payments. We didn't have bank-to-bank transactions settling. We had only a clearance mechanism which was physically based. Nowadays, we have clearance mechanism which is electronic based. If money goes to Prabhakar, the trail is known to all of us. And if money comes back, it has to come back from Prabhakar, that trail is also known. So it's much easy. It's a time, and banks will be excited, not of the Dhanashekharan seeking factoring and Prabhakar being factored. Banks will be interested in the network. Oh, I'm getting 500 fellows. So that is the benefit to the bank, and that is where the negotiating capability arises. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Mr. Anderson. This is with respect to the R&D centers. We get petroleum samples anywhere from 1 to 200 liters from refineries or marketing terminals to research centers. Even though it's allowed to be sent by air, as per CCE rules of India, the customs at most airports in India, especially the Bangalore, refuses to offload. We were forced to send samples by shipping to Chennai and then by road to the respective destinations though such samples have come by air to Colombo. Can you help to make the process simple for our R&D team? As any delay, we are losing time and money apart from detailing the energy of the research team.
This thing it's possible. It's one of the what I would call classic logistics problem. It can be addressed by negotiations. Certainly, I think if the details are brought out relating to, if you can organize it as a group, I can take it up. There are people who can address it who are much more who are part of the business, and they will be interested to take it up to support your contention. The entire the Air Cargo Association of India, ACAI, will be interested in taking forward your thing. I'm not too sure whether you are a member of ACAI, but if ACAI can also be involved, we can. Bangalore guys, I know them personally, and they might be having their own reasons in terms of what is happening for the present, but it is not something which cannot be addressed as long as other airports are also doing it, and it is not banned by the airline or by the what I would call the Bureau of Civil Aviation Safety. I mean, those are the only two regulatory organizations which are there. But otherwise, it is not a problem which cannot be sorted out through what I would call organizing protocol arrangements. But we can take it forward. It's a business as usual problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So next question is from Mr. Vishwanath. Can you suggest a method to monetize the business transactions between AABN members for the benefit of expanding the AABN network?
I thought that was my theme when I told you to have the finance-based networks through banks. The intention was to link you all through those networks. I mean, among you also, the same networks can continue. The networks which is good enough for getting third parties into it should also be good enough for businesses among you. In fact, you should be having factoring terms in a much more liberal manner, and ensure that you honor business commitments, particularly on payments. I'm sticking to it. In India, we have a. I'm yet to. In India, we have this problem, that unless I can tell you, it increases costs like anything, because let us assume that if somebody in, I realized it on an anecdotal basis. Just imagine if I don't pay on time, as let us say Bangalore Metro, I don't pay on time. The minimum bill which comes is 4.5 crores. A bill which lands up is 4.5 crores. Now, if that bill is delayed, now it is not the fellow on the ground who is actually executing the work who can come and meet me. The managing director of that company has to come and meet me. It's not free. Costs have to be incurred. So the transaction costs of this is mind-boggling if you come to think of it. And people add, because they know that these things are done and they have no control over it, they add, in the quote itself it is added. And I can tell you, I'm very proud to tell you that several contractors in their final bills gave me credit. They told me, sir, because of your clearance of the bills, we have saved this much of money, you keep it. So Bangalore Metro benefited by it. They themselves told that, sir, this was meant for our what I would call following up on our bills. We did not need to follow up on our bills. So therefore, this concession, you take it. So the Bangalore Metro benefited by it. And you just imagine what would happen to each one of you on those small bills for which you need to spend time, money, worry, and all those things. So I would say that this network concept of building this platform, which is good for others, is good for yourself as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Otherwise, there had been continuous praises for your presentation. And in general, they have said that a wonderful session, sir. We'd like to continue interacting with you on bounce ideas for business growth. Any other questions? Any other direct questions?
Prabhakar,
Yeah, Haripriya, can you? Yeah, you have unmuted. Put up your question, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was nice. I have few questions for you, Mr. Sivasailam. The first one is, what future applications of analytics will be developed on computerized business intelligence platforms? Since you were giving much more concept on the developing platforms, I would like to know business intelligence platforms. What are the future applications that we can go?
Madam, on business analytics, see, when we are talking about, I'm not looking at the commercial aspects of business analytics. On that, I think India and the Indian systems are already in a very high stage of evolution. And I'm not getting into it because this business analytics on the business part of it, that is your commercial aspects of it, trying to know customer preferences in what I would call it the commercial side. Those are all matters which are already on, and I think 5 years have gone by when from the time I've been involved in it, and at least I am not seeing the commercial guys speaking on business analytics, with which I was involved when I was in telecom. I think the last thing which I heard was in 2019, and after that suddenly everything this thing, because I think that matter has been stabilized. But what is important from the business analytics point of view is what I saw it in the logistics sector. There it is totally because the logistics is actually a disconnected group of businesses which need substantial integration. The analytics becomes very important. Now, I'll give you a very small example, which was also used during our interactions with a few of you 2 days ago. How do you move from Madurai to Simla? What is the best method of movement of let us say container X by X, Y by Y, Z by Z, something like what he says. A question which was posed 2 times. How do you move 200 liters of what I would call fuel? And how do you move all these things? I mean, from place A to place B, which are totally different at low cost and low price. I mean, at low cost and low price. I mean, I'm meaning both in its contentions. Low cost, quick rise, and so many other combinations are possible. And you just imagine the number of places which are there. From let us say Punch to to Karnool. How do you do that? I mean, those analytics are still not there today. And shall I tell you the consequence of not having those analytics? India has the largest last mile, first mile costs in the world. And it's not too, I can only share it with you. I can only make it most obvious with a small example. From the place where I live to the airport is 1,200 rupees by taxi. And flying from Bangalore to Chennai is 1,500 rupees. So that's where I've come to you about what I would call the role of analytics in the sector which I am aware. Nothing has been done. Whole field is open. A logistics platform which can open is wonderful. I will also tell you one very simple thing. You weigh your luggage, or let us say you weigh your container when you send it. Do you know that nobody accepts them? They weigh again in the port, airport, wherever it is. Now, are we in a position to make these things possible and say, okay, nothing has happened. These things, these carry forward of these analytical things, like 200 kilometers, 200 things coming. This is the platform. This is the route you take. All those things are not there in this country. I think even although I didn't see business analytics at least since the second half of 2019, but I still feel a lot of opportunities are there, provided you enter into niche sectors like logistics, where the black boxes are many, and it is actually the black boxes which are integrating. But what is within the black box is not available, and that can be unraveled only through analytics, and that's an option which are open. I'm not coming to business. I'm not coming to analytics as a. You also use the word analytics separate from business. Well, options are huge in terms of healthcare. That's what I can say straight away. It has the biggest impact is likely to be in healthcare, but it's also possible to have these analytics options in what I would call job opportunities, where still it's and skill building coupled with job opportunities. And I'm not speaking skill development and job opportunities separately. I mean its integration. Its integration is possible with the analytics, because then people can recruit and then people can train. Nowadays, even skill development is coming like our old Trisome. I do not know how old you are, but during our time, there used to be a program called Training of Rural Youth in Self-Employment, which actually provided employment to the trainers and did nothing for the trainees. So analytics can be a wonderful tool to get people job opportunities. And don't tell me, I mean, people say that in India, a lot of people are unemployed. That's because we are not able to match it. And analytics can play an important part. I did mention, I think during our talk among our discussions, I did mention that 30% of our Indian trucks are stabled because they don't have any drivers. There's actually a shortage of drivers. Now, we don't need to go into why there are shortage of drivers, but we can actually address the issue where there are shortages and make it more amiable. So I think business analytics will only grow. The more 5G comes into things, the more you go into what I would call last mile of everything. The last mile, first mile of everything. Analytics plays the key. To give you the key, to give you what I would call a clincher example of what analytics can do, and what analytics actually did, but what systems failed to do, is last year's prices of tomato, potato, and onions in growing centers. And I'm taking Karnataka as an example, because Kolar is a place in Karnataka which grows all the three. And a center like Mumbai or Delhi, during the season, the prices in analytics, today, analytics has ensured that prices of all agricultural commodities in all mandis are available to you every hour. And some in several places, it's available live. The prices never exceeded 30 to 50 rupees in markets of Kolar. You can see now it's all historical information. And at the same time, February to July, the prices in Delhi, where I was staying, never went below 150. Now, if it is there for 4 months, if analytics were to be so good, people should have made a beeline from Kolar to Delhi, and the prices of Delhi should have come down, and the prices in Kolar should have gone up. But it didn't happen. Now that's where, after that, I mean, as a person from who was the Secretary of Logistics, I brought it to the notice of the government that unless and until analytics are supported with physical movement, after all, we are not doing trading. I mean, we are not doing derivatives trading. We are physically moving goods. So people are physically eating tomato, potato, and onion. So unless and until you are able to back analytical information with what I would call logistics systems, that's what happens. Don't need to go further. Take the case of oxygen. Today, India produces more oxygen. Actually, exports of oxygen are going on. But we don't have oxygen. The problem is in the supply chain, not in analytics. So my point to you is, while you are looking at analytics, definitely sensitize the downstream guys to provide for it. Otherwise, analytics has actually created, the information is there, but that's what I would like to say. So I have, actually we are ahead in analytics as far as businesses are concerned. Our systems are slow to take off and respond, is my view of it from the limited experience I have had. You might have other examples where they have this thing, and that's great. That's how it should be. But my refrain is that analytics should be backed up by the backend systems, and Indian businesses are slow in capturing the value of analytics. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one more question. Not one, I have three more. So the next one is, how can we embed sustainability in industrial business network? Is it still a buzzword for different industries, or is it practical now?
That was the topic of my first suggestion. See, platforms. See, today we are not talking about let us talk about 1990s. We were talking about integration of software. I mean, database management systems. I mean, we thought that if multiple databases were together, that's the done thing. Then we thought that, okay, we need to make use of those databases to develop actionable. So you had what I would call a very responsive management information system, which was still there. The third thing which we moved in the late 90s and throughout maybe the best part of the first decade of this century was communications. So we thought that, okay, that information is not just sufficient. You need to be making it accessible and all that stuff which came. Now we are not talking about any of them. We have taken all these things for granted. They need to be provided. If they are not, well, you are back in, you are fallen behind anyway. You need to catch up there. But apart from that, today we are talking about platforms. Like, you want to do your business, I need to go into a platform where I should be able to do business. I may create a small software related platform in my own thing, but that's not sufficient. I need to talk to you because you are handling my accounts, you are handling my analytics, you require that information. So you need to plug in. Then we are talking about external guys. They say, okay, I want to have information from you. You need to plug in. You are talking about your franchisees. Franchisees say, I need to plug in. So you are talking about platform systems. And when you are talking about platforms, you are going public about your own way of doing business. Now, having said that, you are not only talking about platforms now, you are now talking about integrating of platforms. And that's a different thing. That involves a lot of people giving up their proprietary areas. And that's where the business acumen comes. Now, one of the examples which I gave during our small discussions the other day is, well, if you're going to have two people working on your platform, fine. You might charge them the cost of doing business, everything. You might charge them 1,000 rupees each, but there are going to be only two people. But if you're going to make it public and charge them 50 rupees each and get 500 people, you make a killing. So you're all going down what I would call the bottom of the pyramid concept, and making it affordable for everybody so that I get a lot of people into the system. And that's the way to go, is my way of looking at it. You can have, you need to be plugged into multiple platforms. If it's a regulatory platform, well, you need to be plugged in there also as well. I mean, that's what they do when they give you a UPI is one such thing where multiple banks are there. So that's, you can also plug in. I mean, nowadays when the when service providers for payment gateway is a multiple ownership platform. Each of which is a platform. State Bank is a platform. Everybody is a platform, but the payment gateway is a platform of platforms. Now, there is no end to it. Tomorrow they may integrate with insurance guys, you never know. Like that, it's not a thing for you to say on which platforms I need to integrate. You need to be integrating with all platforms relevant to you, which provides you with the necessary capability to do business and generate information, generate documents. Today, we are not talking about generation of information. It's not information which you need to give. The document which you generate should give me the necessary information. So whatever you put into a particular, in your document, which is standardized or whatever it is, whatever is information is there, I will extract it and make you accountable for that. So we are moving into that area of what I would call integrity in your documentation systems. It is not just, you just provide me information. I'm no longer interested in it. I'm interested in your documentation. I'm interested in your internal processes. I'm interested in your fidelity of these documentation and information by which you generate. I'm interested to know how are you applying those concepts to me. I'm interested to know whether you are treating me on par with your colleague elsewhere. So that I'm not short-shifted. They have all become open now. They have all become part of businesses. So when you tell me that you're going to be in one platform, no, you can be in multiple platforms, and you should be in multiple platforms, and that's the way to go. And all what I'm requesting Annamalaians to do is develop your own business platform so that you can compel people to come onto yours, merely because of the size which you enjoy and the transactions which makes it possible to 500 of you now, maybe more later. Thank you.
Can I go on with my other question? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are the intercultural and intellectual challenges in networking, business networking especially?
Oh, the intellectual challenges, of course.
Not only intellectual, I need intercultural also, because, you know, networking. Yeah, thanks.
I did mention it, but didn't stress on it because it could be offensive. Speaking in a public platform, especially when I'm new to this. Intellectual, not much. All of you are already on the network, so you are tuned to being part of it. You want to be part of it. You have the capabilities for it. Many people in your group have capabilities of it, who can do things the way you want and address your requirements on the intellectual front. I'm not on that at all. And my premise assumed that your intellectual capability was there. If you didn't have it, well, you could even procure it. Another set of Annamalaians who are outside your group may have it, so you may incorporate them. So that's not my problem at all, speaking to all of you. Yes, there is a problem of cultural, and that cultural is trust. You must be willing to say that this network, you must be willing to agree that this network is being developed for my benefit and I am going to use it. And I'm going to put my documents to it. Yes, integrity will be maintained. What I would call safety of your business process engineering will be maintained. Even the person working on your platform cannot see it. Like what it happens in PCS, which I have established as security thing. No business information will be seen by anybody working on the platform. Only the person who puts that information will be able to see. All those security related things will, but you must agree that the system has been put in place. When somebody in your group when the group who is developing it, and they say, yes, we have put in place these security systems, you must be having culturally, as I would like to say, you must have the feeling of trust. Number one. Number two, while you are in the process of developing, it's possible that somebody else may come up with a better platform, and you might be doing some catch up. It's fine as long as you're able to do the catch up. Well, you must be able to support your group to say, okay, we need to do it, or else get the other guy to link in with you. And then a lot of ability to work in a group, multiple groups, some of whom today may be what I would call competitors, but not opponents. You should be willing. So you can start off as competitors. You can have, okay, Annamalai group will promote 2 business platforms, and both of them, everybody will be members of both, and you could start, nothing wrong about it. But you must have the cultural wherewithal to support it, be truthful to it, and then say, yes, I am part of the system, and I will make my businesses, I will transact businesses on it, and I will make outsiders with whom I transact to come into this platform to work on it. And more than anything else, pay for it, because the platform has to survive as an independent entity. It has its own cost, which may not be very prohibitive, because it is like telling the cost of not having it is infinity. Now, once you have it, you should not say that the cost of having it is 0, because they have no other choice but to give it to me. So that's the problem of 1 and 0, the 0 and 1 conundrum. When you don't have, cost is infinity. When you have it, cost is 0. So that situation, that's a cultural aspect. And generally, Indian negotiation strategies are such that I think you had a session on negotiating strategies, and I'm pretty certain, at least whatever I have negotiated over my things, generally, this is what they ask. Once I have a platform, Indian customers have always asked it to be given it to them free, because they knew I have no other choice. That did not happen with foreign negotiators. They assumed a particular price. They provided a particular price. And I think that's a cultural element which needs to come in. You must be willing to state that everybody is in the business. They don't need to make what I would call speculative profits, but the business must make money. And platform is a business. It needs to make money. And you have to support its ability to make money. I agree with the transparency part of it, and I assume it. So that's the way I would like to take it forward. And the cultural elements, yes, we don't need to downplay it, as you rightly put it, but we need to be sensitive to it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. One last question. What is the most artificial intelligence system for business networking improvement?
Madam, artificial intelligence is a concept. Now, I can talk to you on several fields. One of the fields is health. Today, there is a artificial intelligence system which identifies COVID in a chest X-ray, and certainly in a CT scan within 5 minutes. It's already there on the website. You can say, I mean, health is a very major requirement, a major ability for AI. I would say that when you are talking about, it has got huge applications in, I can only speak about the sectors which I have looked at. It has got huge applications in mining, especially on identifying in deep undersea, seabed surface mining and all that. These are some of the areas which I know on artificial intelligence. Yes, there are the robotics is an. I'm on the. If you have seen the way I have looked at it, I have looked at AI as an input. I'm not actually an AI man, but I am in the application aspects of AI, and that's where it is in that context that I spoke to you about 5G. For example, if suppose there are mechanisms by which I can feel your temperature even without seeing you. There are AI related systems which are already under development. Now, if I have to put that into place, I need to ensure that I have a mechanism by which I can access you physically without seeing you and then doing it. So my experience has largely been not on AI development per se, but on application aspects of AI with which I was concerned with, and 5G. And 5G's, the AI's success in applications, according to me, depends upon 5G and also 6G, whose work has already started. Thank you.
Thank you for answering my questions patiently.
Sir, do you have time for our members to introduce themselves for 30 seconds each? Can we do that, sir?
Yeah, certainly. Why not?
Yes, thank you very much. Prabhakar, would you mind introducing? We can ask everyone to unmute themselves and start one by
Yes,
one.
sir. We'll go as per the alphabetical order.
Yeah.
We will start with. Okay. We'll start with Mr. Balaji.
Yeah, I'm Balaji. I'm from 93 batch. I'm based out of Chennai. 93 chemical passed out. I'm into my family business, India Metalworks, under the brand name Prego. We are into commercial kitchen equipments for the hotel industry.
Thanks, Mr. Balaji.
Prabhakar, 1 second. Incidentally, Balaji will be the guest speaker for next week.
Oh, that's good.
He's a guest speaker for the next week. Welcome,
Thank
Balaji.
you. Yeah, pleasure, sir. Pleasure. Yeah.
Over to Mr. Ilangovan, Coimbatore, Mr. Ilangovan.
I would only request Balaji about one thing.
Yes, sir.
Balaji, my submission to you is, I'm a great enthusiast about street foods,
Okay.
which provides livelihoods to huge number of people. And you know how, and they don't have support. I can tell you anecdotally that in order to earn a living for a day, the almost 40 plates of idli has to be given free, has to be given sold in order to pay for the bribes.
Correct. Yeah.
And now the point is, India has now started the street food culture, and you are in that business of these vessels and all.
Equipments, yeah.
Equipments. Why don't you do an Hande? You know Dr. Hande? Dr. Hande won a Magsaysay award for giving, you remember nowadays in all the vegetable thing, you have those lights, no? Lights.
Okay.
CFL lights.
Yeah, CFL. Rechargeable lights.
Hande did it by giving it to all those people at 5 rupees per day. Mind you, 5 rupees per day is not a joke. It's huge amount. And he gave it at 5 rupees, 10 rupees a day. And he won the Magsaysay award for that.
Oh, okay.